Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Blitzball Champs back with a brand new video here on the U to the Tube. So, just finished watching WWE TLC, their last pay-per-view of the year 2020. Just wanted to take some time to give my thoughts on each of the matches that went down on this card. So, let's jump right into it. So, the pre show, which I didn't even know they were going to have a pre show match, but I caught the last bit of it. But they had a pre show match. It was an 8-man tag team match, which put Big E, Daniel Bryan, Otis, and Chad Gable going up against King Corbin, Intercontinental Champion Sami Zayn, Cesaro, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Like I said, I only caught part of this because I didn't even know there was going to be a pre-show match or a kickoff match, but it eventually ended up being Big E hitting the big ending on Sami Zayn, getting the pin and the victory for the good guys. Yeah, I can't really say too much about that match because I only caught the last bit of it. But yeah, just shows more and more that, they're still continuing the storyline with Big E and Sami Zayn, and it's going to eventually lead to an Intercontinental Championship match between the two. So, nothing really special there. Um, they kicked off the main card with the first of two TLC matches for the evening. WWE Championship TLC match. Drew McIntyre defending against AJ Styles. Started off with quite a bang. And it was back and forth. Back and forth. It was most of the time AJ Styles was working on the knee of Drew McIntyre. But, it was decent. And then eventually, before the end of the match, Miz and Morrison come to the ring, and Miz decides to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase. And this TLC match becomes a triple threat TLC match for the WWE Championship. Miz didn't get a whole lot of action compared to when the match, started, but Osmos got involved and dropped the Miz through a table and scared away John Morrison to the point where he followed him to the backstage, following him like he was Michael Myers, and John Morrison was his next victim. But at the end of the night, or at the end of the match, Drew McIntyre was able to catch AJ Styles and The Miz, throw him off the ladder. Miz gets in a Claymore, or excuse me, Drew McIntyre gets a Claymore in on The Miz, and pretty much bolts his way up the ladder to claim and retain the WWE Championship. And that right there, I believe, in history, is the fourth failed Money in the Bank cash in. Yeah, I think that's the fourth now. Because you had Damian Sandow, you had John Cena, you had Baron Corbin, and yeah, and you have this one with The Miz. So I believe that's 4 failed Money in the Bank cash-ins in WWE history. Uh, it's kind of it's kind of a bummer. I mean, the match was pretty good overall, but it's kind of a bummer that it had to come to that. I mean, they did quite a move there with having Otis winning the Money in the Bank in the first place. Then eventually, later in the year, loses it against The Miz, with the assistance and the betrayal of longtime tag team partner of Heavy Machinery, Tucker, which they still haven't even renewed that rivalry, which they can't really because they're on 2 different brands. So Miz gets the briefcase, and then when the time come to cash it in, failed cash in. So yeah, it's a bummer. I'm not a big fan of the Money in the Bank, anyways, but there's your newest failed Money in the Bank cash in, courtesy of The Miz. But yeah, Drew McIntyre retains the WWE Championship and will end the year 2020 as WWE Champion. Next up, we had the SmackDown Women's Championship match. Sasha Banks, the champion, defending against Carmella. I gotta be honest with y'all. This was a great match. These 2 ladies actually really worked well together in this match. Carmella has improved, which I never thought she was terrible, but she has definitely been improving more and more. And her and Sasha Banks, they threw down this evening. That was actually a great match. It could have been longer, sure, but they went at each other. It was back and forth. I know even, with the Somalia's help, Sasha Banks eventually was able to submit Carmella, but it wasn't easy. It's a back and forth match. Sasha showed a lot of toughness, and Carmella was no easy victory. And honestly, that's potentially a nomination for match of the night. I kid you not. And that sounds shocking on paper, Sasha Banks versus Carmella, because I mean, you would think it's not really an intriguing match, but these 2 ladies actually wrestled a good match tonight. I'm impressed. I'm shocked, but I give credit where credit's due. This championship match was good. This was actually good. I honestly have no complaints. Like I said, maybe it could have been longer, but realistically, I have no complaints. I really don't. So kudos to Sasha Banks and Carmella for a great SmackDown Women's title match. On a pay-per-view, they delivered. But ultimately Sasha Banks retains. And yeah. So gotta love it. Next up, we had the Raw Tag Team title match where the New Day of Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods defended the titles against Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin of the Hurt Business. Now, going into this match, which was pretty good. It was pretty good. But I knew in the back of my mind, I was like, they better win they better win this match. Hurt Business better win this match. Especially with this being like their fourth opportunity, fourth tag title opportunity. I'm like, they better win this. Um, but yeah, New Day came out swinging, and they came out strong in a cohesive unit. But at the end of the day, at the end of the match, Cedric Alexander gets the tag in while Shelton Benjamin was waiting too long, I guess, to hit another pay dirt. Tagged himself in, got the lumbar check, got the pin. Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander are your Raw Tag Team Champions. Cedric Alexander's first main roster title. So, the main folks, with the exception of MVP and the Hurt Business, now have championships, with Bobby Lashley being the United States champion, and now Cedric and Shelton as your Raw Tag Team Champions. I figured it was only a matter of time. So, predictable outcome. It was a matter of time. But I feel that also at some point, don't know when, but if there's any dissension in the Hurt Business, I feel like eventually, at some point in time, Cedric Alexander's going to get kicked out. Just with how he's acting, being the one to kind of over celebrate, to kind of take matters into his own hands. I think it's eventually going to lead to him getting kicked out of the Hurt Business at some point in the future. But we'll see. We'll see how they play that storyline. We'll see how that goes. Next up, we had the Women's Tag Team Championship match, where the champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defended against Raw Women's Champion Asuka and her mystery tag team partner, which, let's be real, was predictable, really wasn't much of a mystery. Turned out to be the returning queen, Charlotte Flair. And sure enough, they become the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. The Empress and the Queen. We're talking about rivals for what? 2, 3 years now? To now tag team champs. First match back for the Queen, and she becomes the 4th Grand Slam champion for the ladies. Yeah. Well, the belts are off of Nia and Shayna, which I'm cool with, because Shayna, like those two, they need to be singles stars, especially Shayna. But Asuka and Charlotte. Asuka now a double champion, which double champions are overplayed and such now. Now you would think, on paper. Oh, by the way, was kind of shocked that Shayna took the pin instead of Nia. You would think Nia would end up taking the pin, considering she's the one that put Charlotte out. But Charlotte pinned Shayna after a natural selection. Thank goodness they didn't have her tap out to the figure 8, because that would have been horrendous. But I think it's only a matter of time before Charlotte turns on Asuka and strives to go for the Raw Championship. It's bound to happen. Now, on paper, Asuka and Charlotte would be a deadly tag team capable of becoming the new longest reigning tag team champs. But let's be real. Charlotte's been all about spotlight, been all about being the champion, being in the main event. That's what she's all about. So I have no doubt. Maybe give it a few weeks, maybe a little longer, give or take. Especially considering you got the Royal Rumble coming up in January, end of January. It'll be a matter of time for Charlotte before Charlotte turns on Asuka. I can sense it. It's just only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. Charlotte Flair is back, and I have no doubt that she's going to get reshoved down our throats. But it'll shake up the women's division some, so it's not all bad. So that's two title changes tonight. Then we had the Universal Championship match. So the second TLC match, where the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, defended against Kevin Owens. Now, I have to say, this was actually a really good match. It told a really good story with this, especially with the story of how Kevin Owens can really take a beating. He withstood so much and hung in there, especially with Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, being the main threats and just throwing everything at him. And there were some close calls of Kevin Owens getting the title, but deep down, that won't gonna happen. But I will say this. Roman Reigns, you better start being nice to your cousin, because he has saved your title on at least 2 different occasions. So you better ease up on the bullying of your cousin Jey Uso. Ease up on it. Better treat him better. But nah, I'm just joking. Nah. It would have been too early for Roman Reigns to lose the title. It's gonna be a while. He's gonna have that title for a while. But I expected nothing less from what I saw with Kevin Owens. So this was another match I thought was really good. And I don't think things are quite over with Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. Who knows? Maybe they'll probably have another match at some point, but this was good. This was really, really good. I really can't complain about this match either. But yeah, close to getting the belt, low blow while he's on the ladder, guillotine, and it just falls to a slump. Not quite the finish I was thinking of, but regardless, Roman Reigns was going to retain anyway. And then we have the main event. The Firefly Inferno match. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. To be honest, I thought this was the weakest match of the card. The weakest. It didn't seem that long of a match. And just like that, Randy Orton not only sets the Fiend on fire, gives him an RKO, and then sets him on fire completely. Even though, let's be real, it was a dummy. I'm pretty sure the Fiend, Bray Wyatt's going to make an appearance just like that on Monday Night Raw. But really, really weak finish and weak ending of the match. But Randy Orton gets the victory. But I felt like that was the weakest of the card. So yeah, 2 title changes tonight. Like I said, overall a pretty decent pay-per-view, but very, 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 very predictable. So I can't really say super impressed with how they closed out the year, but they could have done much worse. They could have done much worse. But this pay-per-view was very predictable. So that kind of damages it a little bit, but at least the quality of the matches was actually pretty decent. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I have. I wasn't going to be able to hear too long, but what did y'all think of WWE TLC? Did y'all like it? Did y'all hate it? What did you think of the matches? What did you think of the title changes? Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell so you don't miss a video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Blitzball Champ Jason Ingram. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.